Good morning. I'll invite the fourth elected member from the District of Town to say prayers today.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let us pray. Almighty God, from whom all wisdom and power are derived, we beseech thee so to direct and prosper the deliberations of the Legislative Assembly now assembled, that all things may be ordered upon the best and surest foundations for the glory of thy name and for the safety, honor, and welfare of the people of these islands. Bless our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth II, Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, Charles, Prince of Wales, and all the royal family. Give grace to all who exercise authority in our Commonwealth, that peace and happiness, truth and justice, religion and piety may be established among us. Especially we pray for the governor of our islands, the premier, the speaker of the Legislative Assembly, the leader of the opposition, ministers of cabinet, ex-officio members, and members of the Legislative Assembly, that we may be enabled faithfully to perform the responsible duties of our high office. All this we ask for thy great name's sake. Let us say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face shine upon us and be gracious unto us. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon us and give us peace now and always. Amen.
Please be seated.
Reading of oaths and affirmations.
None.
Reading by the Honourable Speaker of messages and announcements.
None.
Presentation of petitions.
None.
Presentation of papers and reports.
None.
Questions to Honourable Ministers and members of the Cabinet. Continuation of supplementary questions and question number 31.
I recognize the honourable member from the District of Northside.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to ask the Honorable Deputy Governor, ex-officio member, to give an update on the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, on the review of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service by the new commissioner as promised by the governor, and what, if any, changes and or additional resources will be provided for Northside Police Station.
I recognize the Honourable Deputy Governor and wish to welcome the Commissioner of Police to the Honourable Parliament.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the answer. The Commissioner of Police took up post on the 7th of November 2016. Since his appointment, the Commissioner has been reviewing current processes, policies, and procedures across the full range of policing business areas, including assets and estates, to inform the future strategic direction of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service toward the delivery of a modern, progressive, professional, fit-for-purpose 21st century policing service meeting community demands and expectations. In discussions with the Commissioner, he has advised that his initial assessment has identified that the basic policing framework and structures underpinning current operations of the RCIPS are sound, but that there is a significant requirement to build capacity, capability, and resilience to meet societal and environmental demands and expectations. This requirement necessitates a full and detailed review of current resource allocation and deployment to identify and implement a best fit model for policing in the Cayman Islands. As highlighted above, asset and estate are key components of the review, and a service delivery model is being developed. The Commissioner has advised that he has identified critical skill gaps and vulnerabilities impacting on the capacity of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service to deliver an effective and efficient policing service to the people of the Cayman Islands. I am aware that the Commissioner is currently attending to his review and will provide a strategic document in the coming months to inform the future strategic direction of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. Turning to the Northside Policing District, you will be aware that early on in his tenure, the Commissioner reopened the Northside Police Station and allocated 2 police officers there. The Commissioner has advised that he will keep this matter under review to ensure that available resources are used to optimum effect across the Cayman Islands. The Commissioner has further advised that he is currently examining the feasibility of reopening the East End Police Station, staffed with a complement of 2 police officers to meet service demands in that district. Further, the Commissioner is contemplating the completion of minor repairs at both Northside and East End police stations to upgrade official accommodation facilities with a view to having a police officer reside in the accommodations at each location. This added presence would be intended to bolster engagement and partnership with the surrounding community. Finally, Madam Speaker, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office has commenced a security review of the Cayman Islands, the outcome of which will assist the Commissioner to set the future strategic direction of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service.
Are there any supplementaries? The Honourable Member from Northside.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I've just been handed a supplementary information for the elected member for Northside. Is this part of the answer, or is this?
Honourable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The supplementary information has been provided in response to the supplementary question that was asked yesterday regarding how long and whether the police officers were currently in the Northside Police Station.
Honourable Northside Member.
I just want to establish, because the supplementaries can be asked on this as well, if it's part of the original answer.
Is information emanating from the main question, so it would still be relevant?
Through you, Madam Speaker, in the answer, the Deputy Governor says that the Commissioner, oh, and by the way, are you the new Commissioner of Police, sir? Glad I met to meet you, sir.
Members.
I'm the representative from the district.
Member. Let's keep it through the chair.
Through you,
I would just ask you to take your seat, not on a basis of naming, but I would invite the Honourable Deputy Mayor, Honourable Deputy Governor, to do an introduction, as members know the stand orders do not allow us to speak to third parties. Honourable Deputy Governor.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the new Commissioner of Police, Mr. Derek Byrne.
Thank you for your indulgence. Member from Northside.
Through you, Madam Speaker, in the Deputy Governor's answer, she says that the Commissioner of Police is going to deliver a modern, progressive, professional, fit-for-purpose 21st century policing service, meeting community demands and expectations. Is his findings, therefore, that the current policing is not fit for purpose or 21st century policing meeting community needs and expectations?
Honourable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As outlined in the following paragraph in the answer, the Commissioner has advised that the initial assessment has identified that the basic policing framework and structures underpinning the current operations are sound, but that there are capacity gaps that he's looking to identify and address.
Honourable Member from Northside.
Through you, Madam Speaker, the answer says that turning to the Northside Policing District, you will be aware that early in his tenure, the Commissioner reopened the Northside Police Station and allocated two police officers there. Can the Deputy Governor say when was this and who initiated the police using the Northside Police Station for that period of time?
Recognize the Honourable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've been advised that the officers were stationed there in November, mid to late November, and it was as a result of response to an increased number of burglaries in the area at the time.
Honourable Member from Northside.
Can the Deputy Governor confirm that this was as a result of a request that I made to Inspector Beersing at a meeting at the Town Police Station on behalf of the constituents of Northside, who were deeply concerned that there had been 8 burglaries in less than a week, and there was no response from the police.
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've been advised that it was part of a review overall due to a number of complaints that were received and the decisions were made. I don't have Inspector Beersing here today to respond to that.
Honorable Member from Northside, I allow 3 more supplementaries.
Can the Deputy Governor give any details and in a time frame on completing the minor repairs at the Northside Police Station to make it fit for a police officer to reside there?
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've been advised by Public Works that those should be completed in early April.
Honorable Member from Northside.
Can I, through you, Madam Speaker, can the Deputy Governor confirm that when these repairs are completed by Public Works in April, there will be police officers stationed at the Northside Police Station permanently?
Recognize the Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The RCIPS have already asked for expressions of interest from officers who would like to take up these residential accommodations, and it's expected that as soon as the accommodations are ready and the personnel have been identified to be posted there, there will be 2 permanent officers in the district.
Member from Northside.
Through you, Madam Speaker, just one more supplement. Are you suggesting, Deputy Governor, that this is just going to be a place for policemen to sleep and that they're not going to be confined during the day to policing in Northside?
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. No, that's not what I was intending to portray. The residential accommodation is being done so that there will be a presence in the district on a 24-hour basis. They will obviously be there to undertake their usual policing duties.
Recognize the Honorable Member from Easton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is indeed a pleasure to be introduced to the Commissioner of Police. It's nice to see his face. I've seen him before. Now I can put a face to the name. Madam Speaker, in this supplementary information that was just circulated, it is said that Sergeant Scott and PC Kirchman are still in Northside. Can the Deputy Governor tell us why, what is the coverage in East End?
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've been advised by the Commissioner that the coverage in East End is currently very, it's very infrequent. But once the amendments or the renovations are done to the police station, there will be 2 officers permanently posted to East End as well.
Honorable Member from Easton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Should I point out that that word infrequent has plagued us for quite a while in the District of East End. Madam Speaker, as I read this, there are 36 officers attached to the Town Police Station, and that covers Town, East End and North Side, as I understand it. In the commissioner's review, can the of the police department that the governor has that we asked the governor to do from here, can the deputy governor tell us if he has found out the proper complement to cover those 3 districts, since we are now talking about sending 2 to East End? And what is the full complement that is required in his review?
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've been advised that as part of the ongoing review, they have identified that the minimum complement for East End would be 2, and that they would obviously allocate resources up and down as the demands require.
Honorable Member from East End.
Madam Speaker, maybe my question wasn't understood. Mr. Miller and I, over the years, have agreed, and the previous member from Northside, we have always agreed that Bodden Town would be the quote-unquote headquarters to manage East End, Northside, and Bodden Town. We accepted that. This supplementary information says that there are 36 currently in Bodden Town Station, which I suspect would include Mr. Scott and Mr. Kirchman, who are attached to Northside. Now that we don't have anyone East End, and it is infrequent, within the Commissioner's review, what is the full complement to manage that headquarters and those 2 subs?
Honorable Deputy Governor.
If I may consult.
Certainly. Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've been advised that the review to determine that figure in terms of the optimal number of officers assigned to that headquarters is something that is still under consideration. The number of officers that would be at the Bodden Town headquarters to cover the 3 districts of Bodden Town, Northside, and East End is something that the Commissioner is still actively reviewing and has not yet reached a final figure as part of his review. But that the current complement will be increased by these 4 additional officers, as opposed to taking 4 of those officers, or they might come from within that pool, but the idea is that the total number of officers currently allocated to the Bodden Town headquarters would be increased by 4 once the renovations to the East End Police Station and the Northside Police Station are completed, so the officers can be stationed there.
Member from Easton, allow 3 more supplementaries.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have heard this. For 15 years as a member of this parliament, we have heard we are reviewing the full complement for the Eastern districts. And I want to lump them in, the Eastern districts. Can the Deputy Governor tell us when that review will be completed and made available to this parliament?
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Commissioner advises that he anticipates it will take 2 to 3 months for him to finish up the review that he's currently undertaking. And he is working along with the Governor's Office on the review through the FCO as well.
Member from Easton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, can the Deputy Governor, when in the previous supplementary, said that there will be 4 additional officers. Granted, the 2 officers are now at the Northside Station, who have always been as complement for the Eastern District, part of that complement. These 4 new ones do not include those 2 staying Northside.
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to confirm that we've indicated on the supplementary information that there's 29 constables currently. The additional 4 would bring that up to 33 for the Bodden Town headquarters.
Member from Easton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, can the Deputy Governor say in that review if the Commissioner is considering looking at reviewing whether or not the Bodden Town Station, being the headquarters for the 3 districts, will include the full complement of the police force. That is armed response, forensics, all of the different disciplines within the police force necessary for the fit and for purpose statement made in the substantive response.
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I may have a moment to consult the Commissioner. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Commissioner has advised that the centralization of those specialist services that the member has referred to is the best delivery model, and that it's anticipated that the centralization of those specialist services would be maintained, so that we're not looking at putting those into the Bodden Town headquarters at this time.
Honorable Premier, we've reached the hour of 11 a.m. The member from Easton has indicated he would like to have another supplementary. If so, we'd have to suspend Stand Order 23, 7, and 8.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I move the suspension of Standing Order 23, 7, and 8 in order that that question time may continue beyond the hour of 11 o'clock.
The question is that Standing Order 23, 7, and 8 be suspended to allow question time to continue beyond hours 11 a.m. All those in favor, please say aye. Against, no. The ayes have it. Standing Order 23, 7, 8 is suspended. Honorable member from Easton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that was quite an interesting response. Granted, I shall give the Commissioner the benefit of the doubt that he has not been here and may not have the knowledge that I do and many of my constituents do, which is that hitherto, when that happened, of centralizing those special areas such as forensic and what have you, the response time was 3-4 days. Now that I have enlightened him if he hasn't been before, I need him to consider that, Madam Speaker. And that's one question. If that will be considered based on that. And the other thing is, Madam Speaker, I note within the substantive answer that he visited the East End Police Station. I wonder if there's a new policy now, because every time the other commissioners came to East End to visit, they would consult with me over the last 16 years. And I have been in meetings at the Town Station once a month, Mr. Miller, having discussions with the command. Thus far, we have not had any in 6 months. I don't know if there's a new policy that no more discussions with politicians or no more consultation with representatives from the districts to get an expression of their concerns and needs and the likes. I'm wondering if that could be answered, please.
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I may have a moment to consult the Commissioner.
Yes, certainly. Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The Commissioner has advised that, just to remind that the specialist services will still be deployed as they're required. He does note the concern about response time, and he's given an undertaking to look into that as part of his ongoing review to ascertain whether there are some steps that need to be taken to address concerns in that area. He's advised that one of the other things that they're currently looking at as part of the review is having 2 detectives dispatched back to the Bond Town headquarters, and whether that is something that is required and feasible. He's also indicated to me, Madam Speaker, that he is more than happy to meet with the members of this Honourable House if they would like to meet with him, and that he has not advised his team that they should not have the regular meetings that were going on. So he would welcome the opportunity to meet with the members, Madam Speaker.
The third elected member from Westby.
Madam Speaker, through you. Welcome, sir. In the Commissioner's review, the last time the acting Commissioner sat, right now where the acting Deputy Governor spoke, I asked him a simple question, and that is, when you arrived, would they advise you of the blatant racism in the police force amongst police officers? If they have not, I have evidence. I stated some on the floor of this House. And even lately it continues where police officer forged doctors' things. Since then, the doctors have come back and said something different from the original. But we know how that goes. They were allowed to resign. Now, there's also other documents that have been forged, have been found, and been allowed. There was cases where local officers did a sin. The counterparts from Europe did the same. Complete different results. You have good, God-fearing citizens, a lady of 78 years old, church lady, her son, about 56 years old, business people, witnessed assault. Nothing has come of it. It's not like people who are anti-police. These are the type of things that have gone on. In your review, there is a problem in your force that I think you should be aware of. And will it be addressed, is my first question.
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First, I would encourage the member from West Bay to let the Commissioner know the specifics of some of those instances that you've raised here today so that they can make sure that they're looked into appropriately. And of course, I would encourage you to do that off at the side. Just the Commissioner has confirmed that the scope of the review is all-encompassing, and so issues such as the ones within the force that you have raised will be part of the review.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Third elected member from West Bay.
Madam Speaker, through you. The Deputy Governor has advised that you will be meeting with the local Caymanian helicopter pilot. And it was just confirmed, and I'd like to say thank you. It's kind of late because the Deputy Governor announced that it already hired another helicopter pilot. And the present person who's in charge of the helicopter seems to be bent on not putting a Caymanian in that seat. It's something that I do hope you look into as well, sir. And I want to compliment you on the 2 detectives back to the bottom town, and I hope you're doing it with the other districts because I had a meeting with your deputy, and I advised them when the move was made to take them out of the districts. It was a big move. Something happened, and when I went and I asked, they said, well, they moved everybody back to town, so I'm not going to Georgetown to give any talk to those guys before I could find them in West Bay. So compliments, sir, that you would move them back to the districts. And will you review also the helicopter issue with our Caymanian helicopter pilot?
Honorable Deputy Governor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As the member mentioned, the Commissioner is going to meet with the young man. And just to say that there is a strong push throughout the civil service to look at succession planning, particularly in those sorts of highly technical areas, and that the Commissioner has indicated a commitment to make sure that steps are taken.
Madam Clerk, next item of business.
Statements by honorable members and ministers of the Cabinet.
None.
Personal explanations.
None.
Obituary and other ceremonial speeches.
None.
Raising a matter of privileges.
None.
Government business. Bills. Second readings. The Legal Practitioners Bill 2016.
Does any other member wish to speak? Does any other member wish to speak or recognize the 5th elected member from the District of Georgetown?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to contribute to the debate on a bill for a law to repeal and replace the Legal Practitioners Law 2015 to regulate the practice of Cayman Islands law, both in the islands and elsewhere, etc., etc., etc. Madam Speaker, a lot has been said recently about this bill and a motion pertaining thereto. But a lot has also not been said because some people don't have the ability to take out full-page ads. They don't have the ability to do expensive press releases with professionals assisting. But what they do have, Madam Speaker, are some members in this honorable House who will stand up and state their case. And I can be counted as one of them. Madam Speaker, I want to commend these letters that have been copied to some of the members on the other side already. But I want to table them, and I want to see if I can, with your indulgence, have the staff make copies for every single member in this legislative assembly.
So ordered.
Thank you. Because I don't want anyone to get up and say they don't know what I'm talking about. Madam Speaker, I plan to tell a story today of the non-fiction kind. One that many others can't tell and won't tell. And I'll also tell you why. Because, Madam Speaker, based on my own experiences, but in particular, my own investigations over the last year and a half, speaking to a number of ex-lawyers, current lawyers, and article clerks. They simply, literally, can't speak in some instances because they have confidentiality clauses when they leave firms. So their mouths are sealed for all eternity unless they are willing to pay back the money they received for that silence. What has been said to me repeatedly is that there is a culture of fear in and around the large law firms where people, if they speak out, feel that they're going to be blackballed. And I'm going to read these so that they're committed to Hansard, Madam Speaker, lest anybody in this House dare say I'm making this up. But I'll come in time. Madam Speaker, there are allegations of letters being written and article clerks being leaned on to sign. And that's coming from one of the article clerks. Madam Speaker, that coupled with the lack of Caymanian advancement, meaningful advancement to equity positions in these firms, because I'm also going to tell you about the differences in the word partner, because the Immigration Board seems to believe it's all one and the same. And I'm going to say it for the record. I'm going to show what the differences are in our own immigration law, along with the fee structures therein, and what the law says about promotions and redesignations. Madam Speaker, when I started this in July of 2015, I'm going to show how one person speaking into the wind, eventually, if you say it long and loud enough, can get some of those same people who are afraid to put their names to letters stating their position. And the reason I was told that some of that happens is that people are now to the point where they're past frustration. And part of that is the lack of responses or even acknowledgement from some of the very same members of this legislative assembly to their pleas, to their letters. And Madam Speaker, as the elected leaders of this country, that is deplorable. The sky is falling. The world is coming to an end. That's what we've been hearing lately, Madam Speaker. But what we haven't been hearing is what has been occurring for decades in this country without someone standing up for those individuals. Someone marking the line in the sand and saying enough is enough. If not now, when? If not us, who? I'm going to touch on that, Madam Speaker. And I'm going to touch on that, Madam Speaker. Because in an assembly that has fair representation from the legal fraternity, not only do we know what is occurring, some of us had made complaints over the years because of their own personal situation, so they can empathize with the practitioners that are coming to us now. Some of us were in leadership positions. Some of us left the profession because of some of the things that are still occurring today. Madam Speaker, we know better, and that means we should be doing better. Madam Speaker, I took this job on not expecting to be standing here today saying the things that I'm going to say. But when I saw no one else willing to come forward and say it, I penned an email to my colleagues at the time saying that we needed to stand up for those faceless, voiceless Caymanians in the profession, and that I would be willing to bet both my political career and my professional career to stand up for these people. I detailed the meetings that I had been having and also the fear of people who didn't want to put their names forward. And Madam Speaker, I know the sentiment is it's an impossible situation. How do we stand up for people who won't speak for themselves? Madam Speaker, I'm standing here knowing that I'm committing professional suicide. But somebody has to do it. Somebody has to say it. That's the reason why we all were elected in this House, to represent our people without fear, without failure. And again, I say it's deplorable that those of us that know better have said nothing about it. Madam Speaker, we've heard a lot of reasons for this bill, most of whom were based on CFATF reasons, modernizing the fraternity, making it self-regulating because we know better than most how to regulate ourselves. But Madam Speaker, in all those discussions, in all those talks, nobody has acknowledged the situation that exists with Caymanian lawyers in this country. Namely, the ones that are schooled here are not making it to equity partnership, and there is a culture of fear where people won't speak up because they feel that if they do, they're going to get ostracized, and they feel that no one is there that they can complain to. Madam Speaker, to modernize a law and not put in the provisions that will protect our people is no real modernization, especially when we have examples from the UK and other places that we consider first world. Madam Speaker, stewardship means careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. We in this House get up and speak on all sorts of matters of discrimination. We get up and beat our chest on gender affairs. We get up and speak about gay and lesbian rights. We get up and speak about religion. Madam Speaker, who is speaking for the Caymanian lawyer who, from a statistical representation and an actual representation, is being discriminated against in their own fraternity? Where are those voices now in this chamber? Madam Speaker, it is our job to sometimes say things that are inconvenient truths, stand behind them, and be counted when the spotlight is on us. That is what we told the people of this country we would do if they gave us their votes. What is the role of government in all of this? I have to wonder sometimes. I really do. Madam Speaker, we are the people who are set about to make good laws for the governance of these islands and our people, and policies which affect them and their livelihood. If we don't do it, who will? Madam Speaker, I'm also going to show how people feel they have no real outlet, even with the bodies that are supposed to be looking out for their interests. There's was Martin Luther King Jr. that said, Madam Speaker, there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe nor politic nor popular, but he must take it because conscience tells him it is right. Madam Speaker, you spoke a lot yesterday about conflicts. And I'm not going to get into those other than to say that I hope that every member in this House has declared any conflict that they may have, indirect or direct. And in my mind, Madam Speaker, subject to any determination that you would make, conflicts arise if a member has gotten any significant sum of money from any law firm since this administration started, if they have any offer of employment that's floating from a law firm in these islands, if they've had family members hired by law firms in the last 4 years. Those are some examples, Madam Speaker, that I would hope that you and others in this House, this honorable House, would identify as conflicts, perceived or otherwise. Because the perception of conflicts in the public arena with those entrusted to be objective in their decisions is as bad sometimes as an actual conflict. Madam Speaker, I believe that Caymanians can be anything they want to be given proper opportunities. I believe that our economic sustainability relies on educating and training Caymanians to take meaningful economic and decision-making roles in the professions in this Caymanian economy. I believe that Caymanian parents should know that their sacrifices to educate their children will be fully realized without barriers, artificial or otherwise, so that their capable children can be as successful as their own abilities allow them to be, especially in the Cayman Islands. I believe that capable Caymanian children should be able to aspire to any role in Caymanian society. But then, who am I to dare to believe? It's not only me that believed, Madam Speaker. Our political forefathers believed the same thing. And if you look at the letter and intent of the laws that they put in place, they were put there so that Caymanians could rise to the mountaintops in their own country, figuratively speaking, that they would be masters of their own destiny. That's why the blood, sweat, and tears that they put out there, that they put in place for our people, should be followed and revered, just like we do when we say, oh, the seamen built the Cayman Islands. We should say that some of our political forefathers and mothers, the giants in this society, did the things that they did for a reason. Madam Speaker, I'm going to say it. We are now minorities in our own country. And maybe it's time that we start being treated as minorities, as sad as that is to say. Because at least if we were treated as minorities, like in other first world jurisdictions, there are some interventions made and some parameters set. And it's sad that we have to say that in our own country, but it's time to call us what we are. We are a minority in our own country. Madam Speaker, a lot has been said about utterances from me and the member from East End. That we are attacking the financial services and legal fraternity in this country, and it's us that are going to cause the end of the gravy train. Madam Speaker, the kill the messenger response to what has been raised multiple times before, unlike the Cayman Finance statement. And I'm going to show how it was raised multiple times. And those people that are lawyers on Cayman Finance knew that. So to make that statement was very deliberate and very disingenuous. But I'm going to show that today, Madam Speaker. Because I'm going to go back and give us a history lesson of how long people have been complaining with no recourse, no redress. And I'm saying to everyone in this honorable house, enough is enough. Madam Speaker, I recently attended the accountants' gala evening, their 9th annual gala. And the CEO of that organization started her speech with this: we are here to realize dreams. We are here to realize dreams. And Madam Speaker, if anyone, any group has carried out that statement in this country, it's the accountants. We can reach out and touch a whole lot more equity partners in accounting firms. In many instances, younger than the people in this room. And in many instances, over a sustained period of time. And my question to this honorable house is, if they can, why can't the lawyers? That slow rate at which those who were article clerks in Cayman firms are progressing to equity partnership in law firms is and should be concerning for every member of this honorable house, but particularly because we have more lawyers in here than any other profession. The lack of Caymanians who completed articles in Cayman inequity rules is no longer tolerable. Madam Speaker, when we raised our motion, that infamous motion, it was because of public interest, Madam Speaker. It's also because of money. In an era when the middle class is living paycheck to paycheck, the cost of living is high. If we don't see that our people are properly prepared and trained and advanced to the higher levels, this house of cards based on simply fees and some employment for our people is going to come crashing down. Why is government so intent to give away millions of dollars to people who make billions of dollars, but overlook the ability for Caymanians to advance to the highest positions of power and influence in Cayman at an acceptable rate? Imagine, Madam Speaker, what in the big firms is the average entry salary into equity partnership. Imagine what that first rung would do and would mean for the next generation of Caymanians. Now imagine what $5 million a year would do. And then imagine what $10 million a year would do. And then see if you can stretch your imagination some more and imagine what $15 million a year would do. What life-changing effect would that have on able, capable Caymanians who were schooled here, who had dreams of bigger things, who utilized the opportunities and the education granted to them here if they could reach those mountaintops? That is what real nation building is, Madam Speaker. It's ensuring that the proper systems are in place so that your people get exposed and get all the training required to advance to the next step. Before somebody from the other side wants to accuse me of nationalizing law firms, I want to be very clear here, Madam Speaker. I do not believe in affirmative action. I do not believe in putting Caymanians in a position because they're Caymanian. But equally, they should not be kept out of a position if they're Caymanian. And when the statistics show such alarming rates, it's up to us, everyone in this room, Madam Speaker, to ask, why is it that some professions can and other professions can't seem to? Is it the education that we're giving them? The local education? Are we asking those questions as a government, as leaders? who are supposed to make decisions based on data. And if we ask the question about education and we find it wanting, then we plug the hole and we raise the standards. But we've heard just in this meeting, Madam Speaker, that we're getting more and more Caymanians coming through an Ivy League school that we have right here on our doorsteps. And they're getting better and better grades every year, some of the best grades ever. So, as an alumnus of that same school, I don't think it's the education. It might be the perception of the education. But look at how many Magic Circle equity partners come from the University of Liverpool in the UK. So if it's not the education, then as a country, we need to be asking ourselves, why are people that are getting stellar grades, that have proven themselves academically all their school lives, suddenly not capable enough to get to the top tier in Caymanian firms? We have to ask ourselves, well, what's the process? At least that's what a reasonable person charged with governance would be expected to do. And if we look at the process and it's found wanting, we plug the holes, Madam Speaker. And we make goals. And as a fraternity and as a country, we try to achieve them. We need to take note of what's going on, because in many cases, the gates are open and the horses are out. We can build an economy that works for everyone, Madam Speaker. Or we can take this watershed moment and just stack the deck even more for those at the top. Because that's where we are, Madam Speaker. We're at a crossroads right now in our history. We are charged with making decisions on behalf of our people, for our people. History will not be kind to us if we don't do the right thing by them, for them, and ensure that when there are allegations of discrimination, of cultures of fear, of all these other things, that they're thoroughly investigated and dealt with. We have that power. So why is no one asking the questions? Madam Speaker, we're supposed to be leaders. That's what we advertise to people. That's what we told them we would do for them. And the hottest place in hell is reserved for those who remain neutral in times of great moral conflict. Madam Speaker, the Premier got up and said, I attended a meeting just 2 nights ago, and I did at the request of the Chief Justice of this country. I went there in good faith. Madam Speaker, went there to talk about big picture items that I have always talked about. As far back as anyone who's willing to listen would know. Madam Speaker, a year and a half ago now, when a group of about 20 young lawyers came to me, where I had dinner with them, and I was in the PPM caucus at the time, I raised the issue. I said, we have people afraid to speak up. Madam Speaker, at that same meeting, I heard that we had 75 Caymanian lawyers as partners in firms. And I almost went crazy, because the fact that someone could say that without even batting an eye, especially when we know in that room that a partner isn't a partner, isn't a partner. There are different levels of partnership. And a salary partner or an associate partner is only an employee. They're not an equity partner. People are put out all the time as partners in law firms without the distinction placed there. And our immigration boards have taken that on board many a time. They believe those statistics. But you know what they say about statistics. Madam Speaker, after that meeting, after some of the responses that I got, I penned an email to my then colleagues. So for anyone to say, as has been said in the last few weeks, that I'm simply playing politics because it's leading up to an election, that it's convenient to bring these things up at the last minute to thwart a bill. And for those who would like to say that I was complicit in any activity where I just went along with the majority, I want to read this email, Madam Speaker. Because if I were complicit, I'll let the public judge as to whether I would have written this response. September 16th, 2015, 5:13 p.m. Certainly not just in this, the 11th hour of this administration, Madam Speaker. Elected colleagues, just an update for whatever it is worth. I've not had any law firms sign up to my statement of goals, and I'm going to read those statements, Madam Speaker. But thankfully, the Council of the Caymanian Bar Association has. I am, however, meeting with the president of the Cayman Islands Law Society next week, so we will see where that leads. Whilst it's very unfortunate that no law firm would sign on to the 5 basic commitments. And Madam Speaker, just for clarity, I'm going to read from 2 documents because I didn't put the 5 commitments in the email, but everyone had them before that time. I'm going to read them with your permission. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The document that I sent out to both law societies was headed Statement of Goals. We, the undersigned, pledge to use our best efforts to demonstrate and ensure that the attitudes and practices within our firms promote the full representation and participation of Caymanians at all ranks of the legal profession. Namely, to 1, remove any barriers to full and equal participation of Caymanian attorneys in all levels of the work, responsibilities, and rewards. 2, improve the rate of retention of Caymanian attorneys. 3, improve the rate at which the law firms promotes or invites Caymanian attorneys to non-equity and equity partner status and to management and leadership positions. 4, fully adhere to the letter and intent of the immigration law as revised of the Cayman Islands as it relates to hiring, training, and advancement of Caymanians. And 5, conduct critical self-audits and evaluations of whether the law firm is achieving these goals and to provide measures of accountability in the process of implementing and aspiring to best practices. Madam Speaker, this was gleaned from speaking with numerous accounting firms as to how they got their raw Caymanian talent polished and ready for equity partnership. I went on to say, and I'll read that again because I stopped, so I'll read it from the start. Whilst it is very unfortunate that no law firm would sign on to 5 basic commitments, it was not unexpected. It has, in my mind, justified why I asked them to do so in the first place. If law firms operating in the Cayman Islands cannot or will not state that they will follow the immigration law as officers of the court, sign up to hire, train, and promote Caymanian lawyers to full equity participation in firms, agree to look at their systems to say whether they intentionally or unintentionally prohibit Caymanian lawyers from equal access to partnership opportunities, and if found, work to remove those barriers, and to look at how better to retain Caymanian attorneys, then I hope other people see the real issues facing the legal profession and the Caymanian professional. I've had a number of young Caymanian lawyers on Saturday night and since then thank me for my stance, and I'm somewhat encouraged by that. In the same breath, they noted they cannot give public support for fear of victimization, and that is the major issue that young Caymanian professionals face. They can't speak out, and there is no one to speak for them. Whilst I personally find the general apathy and ignorance of the wider social and economic issue, both now and for future generations surrounding this issue, troubling, I was pleasantly surprised that at least several accounting partners, both Caymanian and non-Caymanian, reached out to give support, stating that this was what occurred in the 1980s to force the break in the glass ceiling they were experiencing, as did a few law firm salary partners and at least one equity law partner. So I will press on. I've set out below in further detail what I will again asked the firms and legal societies to consider and will seek to get this to press on Friday. Some refused it to carry it, questioning my motivation. I also intend to publish it on Facebook and on my own site on the same day that I deliver it to the CILS and CBA as a second installment for their consideration. Just so you know where I stand on this, I am committed to stake my future career, both political and vocational, on ensuring that this issue that I and a number of young Caymanian lawyers are deeply concerned about is fully aired and debated at length, even if I am the lone wolf doing so, and for as long as I have my seat. When it matters, long after politics, I will be happy to say that I stood up and fought for this, whatever the personal consequences, when I had the ability and the obligation to do so. I don't need any responses. This is simply an FYI. Kind regards, Winston. One backbencher responded, Mr. Joey Hugh, saying, thanks, Winston. Madam Speaker, again, lest people say this is just politics, that I'm trying to win a seat. I have been saying this long before I got into politics. I've said it again after I got into politics, and I'm saying it again even before the people might not want me to be in politics. This is not something I'm doing for recognition. It's not something I'm doing to get a seat, and it's certainly not the smartest thing to do as a lawyer who may or may not have to go back out into the workforce because of the decision of the people, because I hold a seat at their pleasure. Madam Speaker, it's been far too long that our talented, hardworking people in the legal profession have been overlooked and not afforded the same opportunities that others have had. It is time that they be granted equal opportunities. And the risk with supporting this bill as it is drafted is that these equal opportunities have not been given by the same people that we want now to remain fully in charge of the fraternity. Once gone, Madam Speaker, they likely will never come back. And that will be a sad day for all of us, including our children. Like national bulk carriers did for our forefathers, I encourage the minister to give our aspiring Caymanian lawyers a chance, and they will too inspire the world with what they accomplish. Madam Speaker, when we met at the Chief Justice's chambers, I finally got an acknowledgement that President of the Cayman Islands Law Society would, at that time, have taken the statement of goals forward to try use his best efforts to have the Law Society and the major law firms of over 20 lawyers take these on board. And he said that he was happy for his firm to take this on board. Those are the 5 goals. So, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, it has been suggested that we should support this bill, pass it into the law with the hope that the firms will begin to provide full opportunities for Caymanians. But how can we blindly accept this hope given the lack of structure and focus to date? Madam Speaker, 4 years ago, the same 2 groups, the Law Society and the Caymanian Bar Association, agreed on a commitment letter. They passed it around. They said, this is a draft document. If we get the legal practitioners bill in place, that was 4 years ago, we will put these proposed commitment letters into operation. Madam Speaker, I was happy, again at the same meeting with the Chief Justice, that after raising this in our public meetings, because the opposition went out to the public on the legal practitioners bill. And we went to every district, including yours, Madam Speaker. And we talked about the fact that this commitment paper was absent in the discussions on this new version of the legal practitioners bill. I was happy to hear that in fact it was being discussed with the minister and that there was a consideration and acceptance that they could be put into regulations. Because my question when we were making our tour, Madam Speaker, of these islands was, if you know what to do, why do you need to wait on legislation to do it? And if you know and you knew 4 years ago, but you sat on it to use it as a tool to get leverage for the bill, what is legislation going to do to change attitudes at law firms? This should have been in place 25 years ago, not 4 years ago, and certainly not now, as we are talking about putting this bill in place that has been 15 plus years in the making. I am in that I was still told that it would be put in place in this bill. There are some firms that are doing it, and I will say that. And Madam Speaker, lest the reports that have gone out, especially in the last few weeks, by the editor of the Cayman Compass and others, would like to say I was this failed lawyer who couldn't cut it in law firms, and I have a grudge against law firms. So I'm using my political position, they said, to try to give some form of payback. Madam Speaker, let me say for the Hansards and give a little bit of history about myself. Madam Speaker, I had varied experiences in law firms, like most Caymanians, good and bad. But I'm not one to ever dwell on the past. And in fact, it was because of those opportunities that I had in law firms that I ended up being an equity partner in a financial services firm. So the reports, I guess, of me not being able to cut it, I think, are deliberately and greatly exaggerated. What I did have, like I said, were positive and negative experiences. But as a whole, it allowed me to be where I am today. But because of those negative experiences, I can talk about what's going on in the fraternity. And because of those positive experiences, I can give credit where credit is due. I don't have any axe to grind. I had a very positive experience at Maples and Calder. Everything that they told me they would do, when I got there, they did. I got all the support that I could ever have imagined wanting to get. I've gone on record before, and I will say it again. David Brooks, the partner that was in charge of my team, took me under his wings. He taught me a lot about the law. He taught me a lot about the politics in law firms. And he taught me a lot about what it took. I've said to David publicly and privately that perhaps if I had had him when I first started out, I would probably still be a lawyer. Madam Speaker, it was David Brooks who told me that I could be a partner at Maples and Calder, that I was doing all the right things. And if you know anything about law firms, if you have partners that are supporting you, that's an easier task. It's still a hard task to get there. But if you don't have anybody rooting for you, it's almost an impossible task. So I had all those things, Madam Speaker. But what I did not have was longevity at Maples and Calder because I had switched from another law firm.
Honorable member, you have 1 hour remaining.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And when I assessed the opportunity to become an equity partner in a financial services firm who were clients of mine, who felt I was competent at the time, David Brooks helped me negotiate my partnership agreement. So I have nothing but good things to say about that institution. And I've also gone on record, Madam Speaker, just last week to publicly thank the Minister of Financial Services for giving me an opportunity at Walker's. He gave me a scholarship, not because I was Caymanian, but because that year I came third in my law school class and I was on somebody's register. So it was not anything about me walking up to the door and saying, hey, here's my Caymanian card, give me a scholarship. I earned that scholarship. And I think I earned some respect when I was at that firm by my work ethic and what I did while I was there. But at the same time, and I told it to the minister at the time when he was one of two managing partners, or the management committee at Walker's, some of my concerns and some of the concerns of those around me. And Madam Speaker, when I thought that those concerns would not be fully addressed, and with other things, including some advice that I got from one of the people that I was sitting in a room with, who I also will say, Mr. Philip Millwood gave me amazing advice. And he told me, he said, I think at the time it was his 4th stop on his tour. He said, Winston, if you stay in the first place that you got trained, sometimes you get a reputation of being the person that everyone remembers, of turning over the water bottles and getting the coffee. He taught me a lot about the realities and the politics of law firm. So I'm very grateful to a number of people, and I'm happy to give credit where credit is due, and I think I've given enough to the Minister of Financial Services, probably more than he's given to me, but I'm forever grateful. Madam Speaker, the reality is that there are deep-seated cultural barriers to diversity in organizations. It is not about good or bad people. It is part of human nature to want to work with people like yourself, to hire people like yourself. We naturally come to the table with unconscious bias, meaning that we have a preference for things to stay the same because of what we have become accustomed to. Overcoming these biases requires awareness and organizational momentum and change. I encouraged the head of the Law Society in that same meeting to be the change he was talking about, because action is always better than words. Madam Speaker, I want to again address some of these allegations that all of a sudden these things are coming up and they've never been there before. No one's ever brought them out before, according to Cayman Finance. I want to go into Mr. Ian Paget Brown, the then chairman of the Law Reform Commission, in his address to the opening of the Grand Court on January 16th, 2013. Madam Speaker, maybe I should get a copy done for you. It's a public document.
Please do.
It's on the website, and I may be able to save you, Sergeant, a trip if you bear with me for 2 seconds.
Honorable member from Georgetown, I'd actually like to take a luncheon break at this time and reconvene at 2 p.m.
Madam Speaker, I'm at your pleasure.